let's talk a little bit about how a PhD program unfolds and what your milestones.
Okay, I'm re-recording this to try to be more succinct, but I just wanted to share an alternative program structure and milestones because my program looked different. So when I started my PhD program, you were mostly assigned, but kind of got some input into an advisor. Advisor is not your dissertation chair. They're not necessarily even on your committee, but your advisor to guide you through the PhD program. So I get into the program. I have an advisor that I'm going to work with. They're helping me plan out my program of studies, what courses I'm going to take, what type of research experiences I want. And there was basically a sheet of paper that had a checklist of the different types of courses I would need to complete in order to take my preliminary exam, comprehensive exam, which would allow me to qualify to move into my dissertation phase. My program was fully funded. I did have a named fellowship, but you were fully funded even if you didn't have a named fellowship, and funding was guaranteed for 4 years. As part of the funding, you worked as a research assistant. I don't know, that's what we called them, RAs, a research assistant. You worked on projects for faculty members, helping them with their research. Honestly, I felt like it was a pretty sweet deal. I felt like I was paid pretty well, and got to go to school for free, which I appreciated. So first year, taking my courses, doing my research apprenticeship, assistantship, and that was that. Second year, started out the same in theory. My second year was traumatic. It is a whole different video. It would just be a lot to go into, but let's just say by the end of my second year, I had 4 to 5 different advisors overseeing me, and I actually decided to quit after my second year. It actually turned out to not be that easy to quit. There were a lot of steps to go through, and the dean and a faculty member literally ended up just saving me and stepping in and being you don't need to quit. What can we do to help you stay here and be successful? And this is important because one of the things that I wanted was another year of coursework. And I said funding was guaranteed for 4 years. I was then going into my third year, and I was saying, hey, I don't want to start my dissertation yet. I want to do a whole nother year of coursework. And a lot of the reason behind that was I wanted more experience with methods. I wanted more experience with qualitative methods. I wanted more experience with quantitative methods, and I just didn't feel like I had that yet. So you can do that. You're going to roll the dice on whether or not people will fund you for an extra year, but you can't do that. So I did a third year of coursework. An important context, I had a master's degree in the same program, in the same field, going into my PhD. So I could have just transferred all of those courses, right? But I did 3 full years of coursework for my PhD. At the end of that third year, so this is spring 2014, in spring 2014, I took my preliminary exam. Up until my preliminary exam, my comprehensive exam, that's what you have to pass in order to do your dissertation proposal. I had not thought about a committee. I had not thought about a chair. I had thought about tons of different things I could do for my dissertation. I had not decided as a topic. So 3 years in, no topic, no dissertation chair. I did my prelim on what I thought I wanted to study for my dissertation. I passed my prelim. And then I proposed my dissertation in fall 2014, so that same year. For me, the prelim, I can't remember if I said this already, stitching is so hard. The prelim was basically a big paper. It was a big paper. I proposed a new framework for how we could look at assessing success in schools. The dissertation proposal, I want to say mine was 3 hours. It was very long. I had a panic attack in the middle. I had to excuse myself. Nobody knew I had a panic attack, but I knew I was having a panic attack. I had to excuse myself. It was a whole thing. But the proposal was basically giving a presentation on, the literature, what research questions I had, what methods I wanted to use, what data I needed. And at that point, so that was my 4th year, that fall, 2014, I had a dissertation committee chair, and I had a committee. There were 3 people on my committee. I had the dean of the school, I had a professor from my program and I had a professor from a different program. I passed my proposal, which meant I could move forward into data collection. Obviously, I had to go through like an institutional review board and like, you know, do the research process. My dissertation was with primary data, which means I collected the data for my dissertation. I didn't use pre-existing data. That's important because that can add more time. So I was in the data collection phase, basically from like October 2014 through like May, June 2015, doing data collection. I did a mixed methods dissertation, which means I used both quantitative data and qualitative data. So more later. So collected data using surveys, requesting assessment data from the state, doing site visits, which included observations and interviews, 2014 to 2015. And then I did my analysis and writing of my dissertation, 2015 through 2016. So spoiler alert, I did get funding to continue. In order to graduate in May 2016, which I very much wanted to do, I needed to defend that spring. So I finished writing and did my dissertation defense in March of 2015. Defense was also like a multiple hours long situation, and what my defense looked like was standing in front of my committee, also other faculty members, also students who wanted to visit, you know, whoever wanted to listen, really. It was public. Mine technically was a little bit closed because of the drama that occurred in year 2 of my but for the most part, like anyone could come. And I presented, you know, my methods, my approach, what I learned, and tried to like answer any questions people might have. And then if people had additional questions, answered questions, particularly questions from my committee. I passed my defense, yay. And so then I graduated that May. So if we're keeping track, all in all, I entered my program in 2011. I exited my program in 2016. There were 3 years of coursework. There was 1 year of data collection. There was 1 year of writing and analysis. And the last 2 years, like, they're not perfect years, right? Like in some cases it was like 8 months, 9 months. And throughout that whole time, I worked on other research projects with different faculty. And yeah, I think like the main takeaway of things that I noticed are different is just like the amount of coursework, and also like when you needed a committee, when you need to decide what you wanted to study, I was allowed to really explore a bunch of different areas. Like I knew generally what I was interested in, but a dissertation for my program was super specific. So I had a lot of flexibility to figure that out. Again, like I didn't propose until I had been in the program for 3 years. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. I'm happy to talk about more about the application process, more about the dissertation. I don't know, more about anything, really. I graduated like 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, if I can do math in my head. So I just like don't think about it that much, but if people are interested, like happy to talk and think about it more.